As President Donald Trump prepares to deliver his highly anticipated address to a joint session of Congress, all eyes are on how his rhetoric will reflect the current political landscape. This week marks Trump's first State of the Union-style address since reclaiming the White House, and past speeches provide a provocative backdrop for understanding potential themes and strategies. In previous addresses, particularly the dramatic one delivered in February 2020, Trump's style has often blended the theatrics of reality television with the serious tone typically expected in such settings. That particular address was delivered just before the Senate acquitted him in his first impeachment trial, and it was marked by a palpable tension that mirrored the fraught political climate of the time. It was drama-filled. You never knew what was going to come out of the president's mouth, recalled Cheri Bustos, a former Democratic congresswoman who attended the speech. The event was characterized by confrontational moments, including House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's infamous act of tearing up her copy of Trump's speech, a gesture that became emblematic of the deep partisan divides. Experts suggest that Trump's approach to this upcoming address will likely continue to embrace a performative style focusing on his administration's accomplishments while leveraging his knack for sensationalism. Donna Hoffman, a political scientist at the University of Northern Iowa, noted that Trump tends to assert more credit for achievements while demanding less cooperation from lawmakers. As he steps back into the chamber, Trump will be backed by a Republican majority, a significant shift from the previous dynamics he faced. While anticipation builds around Trump's address, another significant political drama unfolded recently with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Following a highly contentious meeting with Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance, Zelenskyy returned to Ukraine under a cloud of uncertainty regarding U.S. support. The meeting, which descended into a shouting match, underscored the fraught relationship between the two nations amidst ongoing conflict with Russia. Many Ukrainians, however, rallied around Zelenskyy, viewing him as a defender of national dignity despite the harsh exchange. This was a heated conversation, said Natalia Sarenko, a Kyiv retiree who expressed pride in Zelenskyy's firm stance against Trump's demands. The failure to secure a bilateral agreement during the meeting has raised concerns about the future of U.S. security backing for Ukraine, which has become increasingly critical as the war against Russian aggression drags on. Despite the disheartening outcome, Zelenskyy maintained his position that any peace negotiations must prioritize Ukraine's security interests. The fallout from the meeting has sparked a wave of pro-Ukraine protests across the United States, with demonstrators expressing their solidarity with Ukraine in cities like New York and Los Angeles. These protests were fueled by the perception that Trump and Vance's criticisms of Zelenskyy not only disrespected the Ukrainian president but also the sacrifices made by the Ukrainian people in their fight for sovereignty. "We are striving for democracy and we are met with total disrespect," lamented Artem Vasilyev, a resident of Ukraine whose family has been directly impacted by the war. As the political landscape evolves both in the U.S. and abroad, Trump's upcoming address is expected to reflect a blend of assertive nationalism and an insistence on loyalty to his vision. While his past speeches have often been unpredictable, one thing remains clear: Trump's rhetoric will continue to shape both domestic and international discourse. In the wake of these events, the world watches closely not only for Trump's words but also for the implications they hold for U.S. foreign policy, particularly concerning its relationship with Ukraine and the ongoing conflict with Russia. As leaders prepare for future summits, including one in London focused on military support for Ukraine, the interplay between Trump's boldness and Zelenskyy's resilience will undoubtedly influence the trajectory of these pivotal discussions. The coming days promise to be marked by tension, drama, and perhaps even unexpected developments in the ongoing saga of international relations. In a significant political development, President Donald Trump recently announced his intention to pardon baseball legend Pete Rose, a move that has drawn both support and skepticism. Rose, renowned for holding the Major League Baseball (MLB) record for career hits, was banned from the sport in 1989 due to allegations of betting on games while managing the Cincinnati Reds. Trump's announcement, made via a post on Truth Social, comes following Rose's death in September 2024. The president acknowledged that while Rose's gambling on baseball was inappropriate, he believes the player should only have bet on his own team winning. Trump indicated that he would sign the pardon in the coming weeks, reigniting debates about the integrity of sports and the justice system. This announcement coincides with Trump's broader agenda, which appears to be reshaping the executive branch's relationship with Congress and the judiciary. Legal experts are watching closely as Trump embraces a political theory known as the unitary executive, which posits that the president has control over the entire executive branch. This theory, rooted in a dissent by the late Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia, has gained traction within Republican circles, particularly under Trump's administration. As Trump prepares to deliver a major address to Congress, the implications of this theory on the separation of powers are becoming increasingly apparent. In recent weeks, Trump's administration has aggressively pursued dismantling federal agencies, a process that has included significant layoffs and reorganizations. The president has fired over 20,000 federal workers, a move that critics argue undermines essential government functions. Trump's justification for these cuts, asserting that the government is bloated and sloppy, has not been met with enthusiasm from many lawmakers, including some within his own party. Despite this, GOP leaders have largely refrained from challenging the president's actions, leaving opposition primarily to Democratic state officials and advocacy groups who have filed numerous lawsuits against the administration. As Trump continues to assert expansive claims of executive power, notable legal challenges are arising, particularly concerning his authority to cut federal spending and alter the operations of independent agencies. Democratic lawmakers have taken a stand against Trump's efforts to dismantle consumer protection agencies, arguing that his tactics violate both legal and constitutional standards. The House Democrats, led by prominent figures such as Representative Maxine Waters and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, have filed legal arguments against Trump's attempts to eliminate the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau (CFPB), stating that he is disregarding Congress's role in funding and managing these agencies. Trump's approach has raised alarms about a potential constitutional crisis, with experts pointing out that while he has not yet defied court orders, his administration's actions signal a willingness to assert unilateral control over the executive branch. This struggle may redefine the balance of power between the branches of government, with considerable implications for the future of U.S. governance. As the political landscape continues to evolve, the ramifications of Trump's policies and announcements are likely to resonate far beyond the immediate controversies. The impact of his proposed pardons and the restructuring of government agencies will shape public perception and influence ongoing debates about democratic governance and the rule of law. With Trump's approval ratings hovering around 48%, the administration's future actions will depend significantly on public reception and backlash against its policies. In conclusion, as Trump prepares to make significant announcements regarding both legal and executive matters, the intersection of sports politics and governmental authority is set to become a focal point of national discourse. The coming weeks will not only reveal the fate of Pete Rose's pardon, but will also test the resilience of the constitutional framework within which U.S. governance operates. The echoes of these developments are bound to resonate as Trump's administration seeks to navigate the complexities of power, accountability, and public opinion in a rapidly evolving political environment. As President Donald Trump prepares to address a joint session of Congress for the first time since retaking the White House, anticipation is mounting regarding the tone and content of his remarks. Scheduled for Tuesday, this address is expected to showcase Trump's characteristic flair for the dramatic, a style reminiscent of his previous State of the Union speech in 2020. That address marked by a mix of political theater and personal confrontations set a high bar for unpredictability, leaving many to wonder what spectacles await this time around. Reflecting on the past, Trump's 2020 address occurred against a backdrop of heightened political tension, with his impeachment looming and the COVID-19 crisis beginning to unfold. It was described by former Congresswoman Cheri Bustos as drama-filled, embodying elements of reality television and performance art that have come to define Trump's public persona. The address was not just a recitation of accomplishments, it was a bold declaration of Trump's narrative, captivating supporters while perplexing opponents. "It really is very much like a wild card," noted Donna Hoffman, a political scientist. Trump's speeches tend to be less about policy and more about spectacle, with moments designed to provoke reaction rather than to inform. Adding to the anticipation is the current political landscape, which is considerably different from 2020. With both the House and the Senate under Republican control and a Republican speaker seated behind him, Trump's upcoming address is likely to echo a "get on board" or "get out of the way" ethos, according to Stephen Groves, a former White House deputy press secretary. This shift suggests that the address may lean even more heavily into partisan messaging and confrontational rhetoric. In the wake of Trump's turbulent interactions with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy during a recent Oval Office meeting, the political climate in the U.S. is charged. The angry exchange has ignited pro-Ukraine protests across major cities, with demonstrators voicing their discontent over Trump's dismissal of U.S. support for Ukraine amid its ongoing conflict with Russia. Protests have spread to locations like Waitsfield, Vermont, where Vice President J.D. Vance and his family faced backlash during a ski trip. "I think Friday's performance at the White House has probably galvanized even more people to come out today," remarked Judy Daly, a protest organizer. This uprising underscores a growing divide among constituents regarding U.S. foreign policy. The fallout from the Trump-Zelenskyy confrontation also highlights a shift in U.S. foreign policy under Trump, characterized by a more abrasive stance that eschews traditional diplomatic norms. Critics argue that his approach, which some view as abandoning Ukraine, could bolster adversarial powers like China. As Trump moves to prioritize competition with Beijing over European alliances, analysts warn that this could create a vacuum that China is poised to exploit. In particular, Trump's cuts to foreign aid and withdrawal from international organizations signal a departure from the cooperative diplomacy that has historically defined U.S. foreign relations. As the country braces for Trump's upcoming address, the echoes of his past performances loom large. Whether he will deliver a speech that continues to blur the lines between governance and entertainment remains to be seen. What is certain is that Trump's ability to captivate and polarize audiences will continue to shape the political landscape both domestically and internationally. As we look ahead, the ramifications of his policies and rhetoric will undoubtedly play a crucial role in defining the future trajectory of U.S. politics and its standing on the global stage. In a surprising and contentious exchange, former President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy clashed during a White House meeting on February 28, 2025. Revealing the complexities of U.S.-Ukraine relations amid ongoing geopolitical tensions. Trump's demands for control over Ukraine's critical mineral resources not only underscored a perceived colonial dynamic but also highlighted the broader U.S. strategy to diminish China's influence in global supply chains. The confrontation, as reported by the Geopolitical Economy report, showcased Trump's unwavering stance on exploiting Ukraine's rich deposits of rare earth elements, vital for advanced technologies. "You're in no position to dictate," Trump reportedly asserted, emphasizing his administration's intentions to leverage Ukraine's mineral wealth to benefit the U.S. economy. He demanded approximately $350 billion in payments from Ukraine, a sum that nearly doubles the country's gross domestic product (GDP). Analysts suggest that Ukraine could possess trillions of dollars worth of untapped resources, a figure that aligns with Trump's vision of reindustrializing the United States and creating a self-sufficient supply chain for critical minerals. The Telegraph has estimated Ukraine's mineral wealth at around $15 trillion, a potential boon for American corporations looking to reduce reliance on China. Trump's plan appears to be tightly interwoven with U.S. defense strategies, as he aims to provide corporations access to these resources while simultaneously weakening China's economic foothold. The backdrop of this confrontation stems from historical U.S. involvement in Ukraine, particularly following the 2014 coup that saw the ousting of Ukraine's pro-Russian government. Trump's administration has often framed its support as a means to counter Russian aggression. Yet critics argue that this support often comes with strings attached that favor U.S. interests. Former U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has stated that the conflict is being used as a tool to weaken Russia, while Trump's rhetoric has shifted from blaming previous administrations to taking credit for military support extended to Ukraine. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, a staunch ally of Trump, has echoed sentiments regarding the exploitation of Ukraine's mineral resources. He has suggested that these assets could transform Ukraine into a prosperous ally benefiting both nations economically. They could be the richest country in all of Europe, Graham noted, emphasizing the importance of keeping these resources out of Russian and Chinese hands. Despite the claims of substantial mineral wealth, the actual reserves in Ukraine remain largely unverified. And environmental concerns regarding the extraction processes have emerged. Experts warn that large-scale mining of rare earths could lead to significant environmental degradation and health issues, raising ethical questions about the U.S. strategy of exploiting these resources abroad rather than addressing domestic environmental policies. The contentious meeting between Trump and Zelenskyy culminated in Trump's insistence on a one-sided deal that critics have labeled as an economic colonization of Ukraine. Reports of the draft agreement indicate that it would grant the U.S. extensive control over Ukraine's mineral resources, requiring Ukraine to allocate half of its revenues from resource extraction to American interests. Such arrangements evoke memories of U.S. policies in Iraq post-invasion, where American control over oil revenues became a focal point of contention. As the geopolitical landscape continues to evolve, the implications of Trump's strategy for Ukraine remain uncertain. The ongoing war with Russia and the precarious nature of U.S.-Ukraine relations could heavily influence future developments. Amidst domestic and international challenges, the question persists: will the U.S. truly aid Ukraine in achieving autonomy, or will it further entrench its role as a colonial power in a resource-rich region? The answers may shape not only the future of Ukraine but also the global balance of power in the years to come. In recent weeks, the geopolitical landscape has been marked by significant developments concerning U.S. military deployments and their implications for international relations. As various tensions escalate, particularly surrounding Europe and the southern U.S. border, the direction and strategy of U.S. military operations remain uncertain, prompting widespread speculation and concern. The Pentagon recently announced the deployment of a Stryker brigade and an aviation battalion to the southern U.S. border, a move that has raised eyebrows amidst ongoing discussions about immigration and border security. This decision, made public on March 1, 2025, reflects the continuing challenges faced by the U.S. in managing migratory pressures as government officials attempt to balance national security with humanitarian considerations. A Pentagon spokesperson emphasized, "This deployment is a demonstration of our commitment to maintaining security at the border while supporting local law enforcement." The Stryker Brigade, known for its versatility and rapid response capabilities, is expected to assist in managing potential crises as migration patterns evolve. Meanwhile, anxiety looms over U.S. troop presence in Europe, particularly in light of former President Donald Trump's ambiguous statements regarding future military commitments. In a report published by The Washington Post on March 2, 2025, analysts highlighted the growing concern among European allies about the implications of a potential shift in U.S. foreign policy. Trump's previous rhetoric has spurred fears that troop reductions could destabilize the region, especially as European nations grapple with their own security challenges amid ongoing conflicts. A senior defense official noted the uncertainty surrounding troop levels leads to increased anxiety among our NATO partners who rely on U.S. support for regional stability. The juxtaposition of these military movements underscores a broader trend in U.S. defense strategy, one that is increasingly reactive rather than proactive. As the nation seeks to navigate complex international dynamics, there is a palpable tension between addressing immediate security concerns at home and maintaining commitments abroad. The Center for Strategic and International Studies recently posed a provocative question regarding Ukraine's future, suggesting that the country may face dire consequences if U.S. support wanes. This sentiment reflects a growing worry that any perceived retreat by the U.S. could embolden adversaries and jeopardize hard-won gains in regions already fraught with tension. Adding to the complexity, advocacy groups including the ACLU have filed lawsuits to block proposed plans to transport migrants to Guantanamo Bay, arguing that such actions would violate both domestic and international law. As debates intensify over the treatment of migrants and the legalities surrounding their detention, the situation remains fluid, with significant implications for U.S. humanitarian policies and international relations. Looking ahead, the intertwining of domestic military deployments and international commitments suggests that U.S. defense strategies will continue to evolve in response to both internal pressures and external threats. As the Biden administration navigates these challenges, the coming months will be critical in shaping the future of U.S. military engagement both domestically and abroad. Observers will be closely watching how these developments unfold, as they could redefine the balance of power and influence in key regions around the globe. In a dramatic turn of events, U.S. President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy found themselves embroiled in a public confrontation during a key meeting at the White House, jeopardizing both a crucial minerals agreement and the fragile diplomatic relationship between the two nations. As tensions escalated, the fallout from this clash may have broader implications not just for U.S.-Ukraine relations but also for the geopolitical landscape at large. The meeting, initially intended to solidify a deal for the extraction of rare earth minerals from Ukraine, quickly devolved into a chaotic exchange marked by insults and accusations. Vice President J.D. Vance, who has expressed skepticism regarding continued American support for Ukraine, reportedly confronted Zelenskyy, leading to a contentious dialogue that left observers stunned. As the situation escalated, Trump threatened to withdraw U.S. support unless Zelenskyy agreed to negotiate with Russia, stating bluntly, "You're either going to make a deal or we're out." This ultimatum underscored the administration's hardline stance amid growing frustrations over the ongoing conflict. Zelenskyy, maintaining a measured demeanor throughout the altercation, challenged Vance's assertions that the Biden administration was responsible for the current state of affairs. "What kind of diplomacy are you speaking about?" he retorted, pointing to a history of broken agreements by Russian President Vladimir Putin. The Ukrainian leader's appeals for security guarantees alongside any ceasefire fell on deaf ears, as Trump and Vance insisted on a more transactional approach, dismissing the gravity of Ukraine's plight. The aftermath of the meeting was swift and damaging. Plans to publicly announce the minerals deal were scrapped, and Zelenskyy was left feeling humiliated as he and his delegation were directed to leave the Oval Office, effectively ending the meeting prematurely. A senior U.S. official later hinted at instability regarding U.S. military aid to Ukraine, stating, "They are fortunate it is not off already," revealing the precarious nature of the alliance. The discord was not limited to the White House, it reverberated through Europe. In response to the diplomatic debacle, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer extended an invitation to Zelenskyy to meet in London, positioning himself as a potential mediator in the escalating tensions between the Ukrainian leader and the Trump administration. Starmer's approach reflects a desire to maintain strong transatlantic ties while asserting Britain's role as a key player in European diplomacy. Zelenskyy's visit to Downing Street is set against a backdrop of heightened expectations as European leaders gathered to discuss Ukraine's future in light of the recent fallout. Starmer welcomed Zelenskyy, warmly emphasizing the UK's unwavering support for Ukraine while also navigating the delicate balance of maintaining relations with the US amid its unpredictable foreign policy shifts. As the situation unfolds, the implications of the Trump-Zelenskyy confrontation are profound. The incident not only risks undermining the already tenuous US-Ukraine alliance but may also embolden adversaries like Russia and China, who have been quick to exploit divisions within the Western alliance. Observers are left to ponder how this diplomatic rift will affect the future of peace negotiations in Ukraine and whether international support for Zelenskyy will wane in light of the U.S. administration's hardened stance. As the dust settles, the question remains, can Trump recalibrate his approach to foreign relations, or will his administration continue down a path of disruption that stands to foster animosity both domestically and internationally? The coming days will likely reveal the extent to which the U.S. can navigate this geopolitical storm as Zelenskyy seeks to secure his nation's future amidst the tumultuous waters of international politics.